too.
It's the path we're on now. It's that's what you're doing with all shift happily now. Wow, of course, since we rolled into that and you talked a little bit about the uh, LSD being meant for Germany, and some of this earlier you had mentioned some of the the special properties of that area in Germany, and that being why people had chosen that area, German officials and such, to do certain things, psychic things, etc. Back during the 30s and 40s. So during the All Shift Happily Now conference, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't gathered yet or seen a post by either of us or anything, the All Shift Happily Now conference is in October. It's in Germany. It's a 6-day event, or 7-day event. It's Tim Tactics here. Sarah Breskman Cosme, she was on the show last week. Kedrick Olson and Sarah Zula, and it's basic. It says it on the website, but I actually thought this myself even before I read it. It's kind of a spiritual theme park, so to speak. It's at a 10,000-year-old ashram in the forest in Germany. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually partnered up with the biggest yoga ashram outside of India, and
Very
it's
cool.
not a coincidence that they actually situated themselves at that spot. I don't think they consciously made that choice. I don't know, but apparently they are doing pujas, which are clearing ceremonies for like 25 years at that spot. And Germany right now, and Central Europe especially, is on the verge of becoming something new. There is again this potential of moving something into the right direction. And I want to emphasize that, and the responsibility that each one of us have. We all have this responsibility, but also this honor, that when we come together, that we can influence the potential of what happens. So just think about that. And it might sound a little over dramatized, but just think about what could have happened if people in the 1900s were as aware as we are currently, and could have influenced certain outcomes in world history that would have charged and brought in a completely new situation in the world, not only for you but also for your children, for your friends, for your family, your mom, your dad, everyone, and for your ongoing life on this planet in this experience too. So
Timeline that
that
kind
is
of goes
something
like
that we
this.
really need to emphasize.
Yeah, the butterfly effect. I mean, I think, of course, with timelines and things like that, it's kind of like, a cone that opens. The further you go down, further you go out in time, the likelihood of the timeline being the same that you're sitting in right here in this very moment are less and less likely, because there's just more probability for change and more thoughts and intents and just anything else you could possibly think of going on.
It's a fantastic conference. The only thing that I'm currently trying to to communicate is how much stuff we're actually packing into these 6 days.
Yeah,
That is something
that's
that,
great.
yeah, because that is ultimately, I want this experience to be as beautiful and charging and giving back for each and every one. So there's something for everyone in that conference. And we started this community action where I asked people, hey, what does you get excited about what is it that gets you excited about the conference? And we figured that there are so many different interests, and I think that is very, very special. It's also about the coming together, the community effect, because ultimately, and that has always been my plan from the very moment when I suggested all shift happily now, which is the least effort that people can do, and the least responsibility is at least sit on your bed at before bedtime. Take freaking 2 minutes. That's all it takes. You don't have to create a new
You don't have
party or
to move
anything.
mountains.
Just focus your awareness. All shift happily now, and focus on this cohesive field and create that with millions of people in different worlds everywhere, and we all do that together and shift the planet. But now we take it to the next level. Now we all come together. But I want this to be fun. I want this to be pleasurable. I want this to be inspiring. You know, I want to bring knowledge to people, but I also want to bring real events. So the whole thing, and I think that is the best description of it, it is a spiritual theme park, but it's even more. It's also a responsibility and an honor for all of us to structure the outcome of what is happening on this planet that you are actually living in currently. It's not that you can detach yourself from it. There are some billionaires who can afford, you know, a rocket outside of the planet, but ultimately we're all in here. We're all in this together.
Most of us are in this together.
Jane.
So yeah, and I guess that is true, Tim. You mentioned earlier, and just, you know, to remind everybody, what we're talking about at the moment is the All Shift Happily Now conference, which, you know, began a couple of years ago as a mass meditation movement. I know you guys do some other things and, you know, internet events and things like that, but I think it was generally a mass meditation movement at the beginning. And I mean, you guys had 20,000 people on there at once when that stuff first started, and people came and went. I think I remember that was kind of right around the time I had met my producer, Jane, and she told me about it and everything then. But, you know, that feels like forever ago. Time flies, but it's amazing to see where you guys are at now. And just the way you guys have put together the team and everything like that, as far as, you know, who's going to be there. And you said you want to bring as much to the experience as possible. You guys have kind of assembled a little all-star team for that. I mean, yourself, I mean, just a great host. It's your home country, so of course, you know, there's a connection there. You've got some history and some guidance and some insight to offer that others may not. Sarah's going to be doing some like live hypnosis type stuff. Is that correct? Which is absolutely incredible. Actually, Sarah's books sit on my backdrop. I admire
I've actually
her.
never met her in person. There's a person in our group, and I think we have a fantastic team together. And we're doing that only for about 600 days. But I think we have like a fantastic core group of people with very distinctive and very masterful skills, and also I friends. You know, they're like super.
Good chemistry.
So much, you know, such a group of friends to me too. But we got this shadow worker, which is Kadich Olsen with a long beard. It's super cool to have him because he knows.
Hope to have him on the show soon. Yeah, one of you guys that hasn't come on yet. Cool.
So he's taking care of you know, all the shadowy stuff that, you know, we have a safe transition. He takes care, and he spent his life into looking into the shadows of the universe, and we do know that this is part of it, you know. It's just something that happens in duality, that these things need to be integrated. We do have Sarah Zula, and she's a masterful healer in her own rights. We got and that is very needed, because ultimately, over, you know, the Earth experience has left its impact on everyone. It would be disillusional to say it's not the case. It is the case. We need some type of washing. We do have Sarah Brexman Cosme, who you just mentioned, and she's a masterful hypnotist. And hypnosis can bring you in a very gentle way into a different consciousness perception. Hypnosis can open you up for certain, you know, your higher self, your higher perception and higher wisdom very effectively. I'm very grateful that I can contribute to that with all the wisdom that I've collected and all the experience that I've collected, but also with this, you know, with my formal training of, you know, steering and leading, you know, societal parts. So what we're doing is something that we are actually creating a new basis for a new soil for this plant of ours to grow. so that we can all become and be happy. Something that, the pursuit of happiness, that is just something that we reactivate here, and I'm super happy about that. And then we have this expanded circle of All Shift happening now, of all these friends and fantastic speakers and podcasters like you, and people like Jeff Mara, or people like Ishmael Perez, or like Debbie Solaris, who basically, by the way, might also join us in that conference too. Spielberg,
She's
2 times
been on the
Emmy
show as well.
Award-winning
Yeah.
producer. He's phenomenal in his own rights. And we got all these people, and then we have this huge and beautiful community, which I count everyone in. And whenever I see people come together and they visit each other and become friends for this lifetime and beyond, whenever that happens, it sparks my heart, because I see the universe as puzzle pieces and bringing these puzzle pieces together. And whenever I can, put some of these puzzle pieces together, and I know it's a big puzzle that we're going to do here, so I need some support of all of you here so we can do that all together.
Yeah,
but whenever
absolutely.
I see that, whenever I see people being more integrated with their reality, more happy, we have so many people that said, like, guys, this helped me so much. It helped me in my reality. It changed my life positively. And also people who said, like, I met so many friends here. Whenever that happens, I feel a moment of deep rewarding too.
And that's awesome. And I just want to say, for anybody who's watching this, and this will be up and we'll have clips, the links to this event, anything you want to see about it, everybody involved in it. And I'll also go ahead and throw, like I said, 3 out of the 4 presenters there have been on this show very recently. So I'll link those bios, I'll link those episodes to the description of this video. But more importantly, I'm going to link the All Shift Happily Now ticket website and event calendar. And also, if there's I'll type this in the bio, but if you use the word immersive, all lowercase letters, there's a bit of a discount. The price is in euros, I believe, but it's something like $100 or something like that.
A massive discount of
conversion rate, but still,
100 euro.
That's,
yeah.
It's a nice savings. Absolutely. Very good chance I will personally be there. I'm not presenting or anything. It's just, something.
We're going to do some of the social media clips, which I'm very excited about. So I think that's
naturally
cool.
I'll work a little bit in my own way, shape, and form. But yeah, I'm just happy.
Yeah, like live podcasts and live interviews. That's going to be very, very cool, Tyler. I do appreciate that very much, and
I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, I think that's a super cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because ultimately, we do only have so many tickets. So once the conference hall is filled up, then we can't, sell any more tickets. But we do have like thousands of people that still want to be with us. So when we do these clips, and when we do some of the social media documentation, that is at least bringing the core hearts of these people together too. The effect when we're there in the right spot at the right time with the right people, exactly doing that, that is so freaking strong.
So powerful.
Just expect your life to change in a different direction, much better, after you met all these people. When you readjusted your energy field, your reality field, when you come back with all this wisdom and the practical stuff that we're going to do. We're going to do a ritual together in order to directly influence the reality field. So it's very clearly important that you're all part of that. It's super important. You don't want to miss the
you don't want to miss one-of-a-kind things. You don't want to miss temporarily open portals. You don't want to miss one-of-a-kind events.
That's a freaking good expression, Tyler. That makes so much sense. Yeah. If you have the lifetime's chance to go through a portal that is being offered to you, don't sit at home and
watch it. Think about it.
Go freaking go.
Yeah. So a couple questions I've heard you say. And by the way, guys, so the All Shift Happily Now conference is actually, I'm pretty involved in the quote unquote spiritual community, and there's events all over the place. But as far as value goes, time, that just value, general, who's going to be there, what the itinerary is. Absolutely incredible value for what you get. Of course, check out the website for pricing. I don't want to be the guy doing currency conversions on live stream, but it's a very reasonable price. It's an event where it's like, again, I said it's a whole week in a very beautiful spot. This isn't a 2-day event. It's almost a week.
It's almost a week, yeah, 6 days,
6
and it
days.
includes the stay too. That's
It
and
includes
the
the
food.
stay.
So
And
yeah.
I saw the
So
food and water and tea and like that's a lot of events do not include that kind of stuff. That's
yeah, it's
not
crazy.
always the case. So it's
Yeah.
really genuinely like if you're ever looking for something like that to do, I highly encourage it. And I've heard you say, I know Kedrick's going to be doing some seances and things like that. He's pretty tapped into uh, the other side of the veil, the paranormal, some may say. That,
Yeah.
and I've actually had people ask me this, is that something that anybody should be afraid of? Is that something that he has under control? What kind of spirits is Kedrick looking to contact in the forest there in Germany?
That's a good question. We do get these questions, and I want to be very, very responsible in my answer here, because we take care that we offer a container for everyone where the integration is made as easy and possible and comfortable for everyone as possible, because ultimately the effect that you are going to merge with other dimensions, other realities, other spirits, that is inevitable. It is going to happen. So now you have a choice to make. You either let it happen and let cultural indoctrination and randomness take place, and you might end up with a good experience. You might also end up with an experience that is shaped by the collective, which unfortunately has done a terrible job in order
Yeah,
to open up
an individual
worlds.
experience, an
Yeah,
open
it just is.
individual
How many
experience.
horror movies there are outside. And you can see people would not ask the question like, oh my goodness, what is going to happen, if they were not subliminally
Programmed by
influenced
that.
by, primed by what is going to
Movies,
happen, by
poltergeists
the
and stuff.
social indoctrination. That is just the case. So you can ask yourself, do you want that part of the reality speak through you? Because at one point it is inevitable for your life that you cross these borders. It is going to happen. That is 100% sure. In the very moment when you're born onto this planet, you are going to cross that border at one point or another. It is 100% sure. So now it's the question, do you want all these fear and all this subliminal fear, create your experience, or do you want these experts that have done that many times, or spent their whole life in doing these things, and
Right.
create a container for you, and so you can go into these experiences and have them as holistic, as wholesome and beautiful as possible, because that is the true reality.
And
So when we're
hold
talking
your
about the
hand and
seance and
guide you
contacting,
along. Yeah.
yeah, when we're contacting other beings and people ask me like, hey, isn't that dangerous or anything? Well, if you
Could
just
be wrong
join,
people.
yeah, I brought this the other day in another interview. I brought this example. If you go to certain web services that offer you a chat opportunity where your webcam is just randomly connected to another webcam, well, chances are pretty high that you you end up in a
Something might
situation that,
happen,
yeah,
right?
that might be a little traumatizing, I guess. But
Discernment.
if you use your webcam in order to connect yourself with beautiful souls, with nice souls, and have fantastic moments, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually, I'll say it. My partner and I we're in a separation right now, but she's one of those people who always walks up and puts a post-it on the webcam, or like I use a little bit nicer of a cam and it has a cover, and if I don't shut it, we're just taking some time we're living apart right at the moment. We're doing separate things. So my life partner and I are not living together right now, but yeah, I'm used to having things done like the second I move away from my computer, boom, shut the camera down kind of thing. And I think about stuff like that too, but she was just always on top of that, like, really, really about like, nah, those cameras need to be off. That phone can't be listening. No Alexas in the house, all that stuff. And I
Well,
used to be
yeah.
that way too, paranoid of the government. But then I started doing like CE5s and things like that, and they started to work. And I'm like, if somebody's listening, they're listening.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to spoil that for everyone, but the universe is open source. That is just because it's just one life form. We are just one
It's consciousness.
universal being. How would you hide something away from yourself, from ourselves? That's just not possible. The only thing that you can do is restructure and rearrange things, and that is where we are experts. That is where we can contribute and offer you a service and say like, okay, if you might not want to, jump into the unknown, well, we can create for you an experience, and that's why I call it a theme park, because you're
It's
set
an
safely
experience.
into that seat. You get a nice, and you get the perfect experience for yourself. So if you like, I'm when I go to theme parks, I do
I'm
very
like
much
super
enjoy
looking forward
the
to it.
slow rides. I do like the nice design. I like when there's good music. I like when these types of adventures. I very
Yeah.
much like that. I'm
Leaning
not
into
not
the
a person who.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, but there are some people out there who also likes the crazy stuff. That is okay too. However, you might not want to I don't know, you don't want to jump from a bridge without a bungee
Without a
jumping
bungee.
rope. You know,
Yeah.
you want to at least have some professionals take care that it's all good.
You want a good,
Even
yeah,
that, you don't jump
absolutely.
from a bridge and have no parachute or anything like that. So that is something that we want to contribute and give to the world too, and by creating that, by giving, it is a very safe environment. Again, we're doing that in a yoga ashram. You can imagine what happens with your home if you clean your home once a week. You're gonna have a much cleaner home. That's kind of nice.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one obvious thing. Yeah,
it's an
of
obvious
course.
thing, right? And these people do cleaning pujas multiple times a day, for the last 25 years. So imagine what an incredible energetic spot that is. It is also in the middle of that Teutoburg forest, in the middle of Germanic forest, which is a crazily fantastic, magical experience too.
Just especially to know the history that, may the lore, the history that may or may not have went on there. I mean, it's pretty incredible. And not that I'm like praising the Third Reich or anything, but it's just, it's paranormal. It's to me, it's an opportunity for transmutation. It's a huge theme in my life right now. And I mean, transmutation, I mean, unless you've read Napoleon Hill's Thinking, Get Rich a bunch of times, chapter 11, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yeah,
transmutation is
and
a
you also
fancy
have
word
in
for
Germany. That's something
taking,
that needs to be taken into consideration as well. All the fun, and we're gonna. I'm gonna make sure that we're gonna have the best time and a
well,
lot of
if I'm
fun,
there, we're
right?
not going to have not no fun. We got to have
No,
fun.
we're
Let's
gonna have a
go.
lot of fun, 100%. We even have like a comedy club, and we're gonna make
Yeah,
people
that's right.
laugh and take life lightheartedly, but also responsibly. There is a responsibility that all the people here that we have, and ultimately you can't just get around it, because something within you has made sure that you are with your feet inside of this reality plane, so you
Mm-hmm.
want to take care of that. It's not that you can close your door and say like, yeah, that's not my deal. Well, you're inside of it. Something
You're
inside of your
there.
soul has made you be here, so you better take care of that home. And Germany, again, it has the probability right now to change. We brought up cannabis and certain other stuff. That this is happening in Germany right now shows
Those are
that the
examples. Yeah.
plant, yeah, it's been pulled into that energetically in order to change something. So we are not the first ones to do this. We are just supporting the movement as an All Shift Happening Now community. We are going there as like, I don't know, like an I don't know, like an operational group or anything. We're on a mission
I
there too.
Yeah,
It,
it's a
you know,
mission. I love it.
yeah.
It's a mission. It's a calling. It's a spreading. It's a Christians spread the gospel. It's a spreading. It's a duty. It's an honor. It's all amazing. I've heard, of course, now, you've even mentioned that, of course, channeling entities, channeling ETs. I did hear, and I don't know if it was on a clip or something. Yeah, I heard it somewhere. It's probably a clip or an interview on YouTube or something where I heard you mention reptilians being at the conference. Also, I heard something mentioned about being in the seventh, experiencing the seventh dimension at the conference. And then I threw something into my own, being that you have had so much contact with the Greys, which, by the way, for those, a lot of you probably are, audience is who I'm speaking to. The Greys, for those who aren't familiar with the different ET races, the Greys is probably the one that you're thinking of when you think of an extraterrestrial, the typical big-eyed, gray,
The
pale
emoji.
skin. Yeah,
It's the
the
alien
emoji when you
emoji.
type the word alien, that one. So yeah, three things there. Can you clarify
Yeah.
the reptilian presence, the seventh dimension, and then what do you know about the gray potential presence there?
Yeah, I mean, that is just one of the many premises that we have for the conference, and one of them is just to, to initiate contact. I know these CE5 things are very much on vogue right now, and it's a good thing that people do that. I'm very grateful for Dr. Stephen Greer to bring that forward. It's not the
Of course.
only way you can make contact, but it's clearly just it is one way to do it, and it's a human initiated way. So
Yeah,
it 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 gives people, especially when you're like in a very uh, tragically set up reality environment like the Earth experience, yeah, sadly is. It gives you back a certain notion of liberation, of power, of keeping the narrative close to you, which gives you a better feeling when you're the one who can actually initiate
initiate.
contact and have like a space. There is outside, which people might or might not know, but there are instances places, locations in the universe where species have just done the same thing. They just brought other species together and said like, hey, here you have a safe spot in order to communicate. That we do not come with any expectations or any uh, grumpy feelings or anything. We just come here in order to exchange consciousness and exchange experiences in life. And so the one thing that the Big All Shift Happening Now conference is doing is that we tell this one story. We have a consecutive lineup where we start with introducing these other worlds to other people so that they know, okay, we are connected and we have other worlds, and the veil in that location is extremely thin, so it's like a meeting point where we take you all. So
Yeah,
and what we
so
want to
people are
do
a
is
little more susceptible to the information and the
yeah,
energy.
it's very, yeah, for sure. And
Very cool.
it's a very safe and very uh yeah, it's a safe haven, it's a safe spot, a safe location for that communication. So we have ever more increasing or more intensive experiences that are consecutively following. So we
Of
start with
course.
opening up and realizing that there are these worlds, and by worlds I mean go outside into your garden. Go, that is something that the space Germanic tribes have done very much. They have looked into the plant world, they have looked into the trees, they have looked, if you take a magnifying glass and you just look into one square centimeter, it was square inch or whatever you want to call it, of your garden, you're gonna find a
A
freaking
whole
a
ecosystem in
whole
there.
universe of beings
Whole
that you might have
universe.
never ever acknowledged that they are there, but they are there.
Absolutely.
They're living with you. So bringing people into that awareness, that is step one, and then consecutively we are going to make more and more contact up to a point where people can directly talk to some of these species. We do have the contact seance where we open up and we want to make contact with being six, which was one of the life forms that I was deeply involved with in these programs. Beautiful life form, a beautiful, loving life form, like the most
Culture,
passive love that you can ever experience. Just
well-being culture, yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
And it changes something within you. When you're mentioning reptiles, I want to make that very clear, because there are reptiles in the universe that are socially very unacceptable because their behavior is not okay. It's
Right.
not the right behavior that get them into friendship modes or anything. But it would be wrong to say that every reptile being in the universe is a bad
Even
person. That would be like judging someone by their nation
by
and
their skin
their
color or their
history or anything.
nationality. Yeah.
Yeah. And as
I've heard
someone
it
who's
termed exo-racism, where
yeah,
it's like we're just extrapolating racism
speciesism.
off
Yeah,
the planet.
yeah, absolutely. So we've done these tests all together in Italy, which is a retreat that I'm doing. It's a very intimate spot because I can only bring 15-20 people or so, but I very much take care of them personally in person and bring them to a new and higher level of consciousness. And what we were doing is we were testing some of the stuff too. We were testing some of the contact scenarios, and we had two species talking to us through these rituals. It is a fantastic experience. It changes your life. When I experienced that for the very first time in my life, it changed my life forever.
Wow.
I do remember my dad. He's still, and he was very busy, but he can clearly remember when I experienced some of these things, because he could see how much that influenced me in my perception of reality. And I can promise you, when you experience that, it's gonna spark something new inside of you. It sparks a new perspective of life that you might have never ever had in your life, that you do not have in your life, because this is a very unique situation, and it changes the course of your lifetime to the better forever ever, knowing that you have these connections to other beings that look towards you, that support you when you ask them, when you invite them. And we're going to do that. So we actually made contact with a reptile species that was contacting us and was saying like, hey, they were tired, sick and tired, so to speak, by getting all these negative
Having a bad
associations.
reputation.
Yeah, negative associations just because of that, and because they said, like, they focus very much, for example, on comedy. They very much focus on laughter. They have these interesting takes where they have these dances together, where they actually showed us or described what they're doing. They stomp their feet like almost in river dance, which is a hilarious idea. And at that moment when I heard that, I thought like, yeah, that's probably the way that I've never thought about, but that is the way how a reptile dances. That makes sense. They stomp their feet, have their arms, and they do that thing. That makes a lot of sense. And that shows that there are these beings, these species, these other forms of what we are. We are not so much separate from anything. We are the one creator being. We are the source of everything. We have different pathways and taken different decisions, and we want to make sure that we do the right decisions from now on. But there is something that is very exotic and yet very similar to these experiences, and that opens up your heart, that opens up your life experience. It gets you into a completely new reality. I can promise you that.
Yeah, and I could say for a fact that Tim has probably had more contact than I have, and it's probably been a little more intimate. But I can say, and people have heard my story, and I've spoken on this, a huge part of my life, a huge thing that changed my life was I was always a meditator and things like that. And I've said this before, so I don't want to keep repeating it, but when, it just happened to be Stephen Greer's method of CE5, that's what I found first. I have done other methods of attempting contact, both in group and by myself, and that those 20-minute meditations, going from that to either a 20-minute meditation and a CE5, or a 20-minute meditation in a trance state, which resulted in a real CE5, which some have been via, seeing, a craft or something, and some have been, and you may be able to confirm this a little bit, but they've been like quite literally telepathic conscious contact. And I've heard that's how the Greys communicate. I mean, it's mostly just telepathy. It's all through consciousness. There's no need for speaking per se. You can communicate how you think and feel and what you want telepathically. And that, I know it sounds, it might sound strange to some, but that was my first contact experience. I mean, there was no proof of it. It was just, I had proof of it. I knew what I was experiencing in my mind, and I hadn't done a whole lot besides typical meditation with a few tweaks. Is that pretty typical as far as, Greys, that understanding that they tend to communicate via just through quantha, through thought, rather than, language? Is language kind of an outdated concept as in regards to the other life forms that we share this galaxy with?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, conscious communication is a very, first of all, direct way, and second of all, it overcomes certain barriers, which is great. It all comes down to the physics that there is a rooting in just everything is everywhere at all times in one space. So there's like just this so-called 1-point field, and if you
That's
send a
real.
message through that 1-point field, it's almost the same concept that we have in quantum physics with entanglements. It can travel much faster than the speed of light. Yeah, very much so. So that is something, and it's also a kind of a safe routine as well, because and Tyler, I get that question all the time, like, hey Tim, can you show me like a real ET? Thing about that is, when you and I've been
You
in
got
that
one with you?
situation,
You can bring them on, sure.
when you see these things, there is impact on your reality field. There's impact on your nervous system. Your nervous system, usually human nervous systems, are not made to meet ET species.
I'm not used to
That is an
that.
intense experience. It's not that you it's not the same thing as meeting someone, at a bar.
Strange.
It's not
Or
the
from
same
another
thing.
country.
Yeah, or from a different country or
It's
somewhere,
truly it's
your
truly a
nervous
paradigm
system is,
shift.
yeah, very much in charge of how your body is going to react. Your vibratory field. So every one of us has a vibratory field where all these particles of us are aligned. And as you know from fields, they can react with each other. So if you meet an ET being, if you see them on the theater screen, in the cinema, in the movies or something, for sure you think you can definitely sit that out, or have that experience. But the reality is much different. You can
Yeah,
watch a screen and
the
watch
energy.
someone ride a roller coaster. However, the excitement level that you might have while being on the roller coaster, for your nervous system, for your brain, for your body,
You don't
might be
feel the
completely
G-force.
different level. So
Absolutely.
there's this, and again, this is something that we want to make sure that it's in a very controlled setting. It's a very loving setting. It's a very protected setting, and with very much expertise. We designed the conference in October so that you can have whatever your soul needs in order to have the next step of your reality, because otherwise you're going to be stuck probably in your reality, or have to wait for other instances to take the first
Right.
step. So maybe it's better for you to do that. And
I
if you're asking if conventional, like, vocalized language is outdated, that's an interesting take. I'm not sure if I would be that strong on that. take. I guess something that needs to be looked into is, first of all, and that has been completely forgotten in human language and the way people speak. They do not consciously use language anymore. They just, bubble. They very much just
Right.
bubble.
We kind of just grunt at each other in somewhat sophisticated sounds.
If you triangulate something like an informational stream, and language is just converting informations from the sender into the receiver. It's a fantastic, not almost, it is magic what happens, that my consciousness is reaching all these people through language. It's a fantastic thing. So the
Yeah.
more
Okay.
you
So I see
bring
your answer there. That makes sense.
structured information into your language, the more precise you can be. And that means that you got to be aware of the vocal sounds you are making. People do not think about what sounds they're making. They just, repeat what they've learned. Then it's also the conscious, that's probably the root of it, the conscious choice of words, right? Casting a
Verbiage.
spell or something. That is how important language is. But people just talk. In Germany, we say people talk like they've grown their nose, like just randomly. So
Yeah.
that is just something. So take care of what you say, and then next level would be get into the understanding and knowledge why certain sounds sound like that, right? Because certain sounds resemble certain concepts and certain vibratory fields in the
Chants and
universe
vibratory
too.
frequencies.
That's amazing. And the third thing is, which is completely forgotten in the human society right now, surface society, you can enrich your language by bringing certain psionic components into your language as well. So what you say by telepathy, when you cross mix telepathy with language, with the right vocal sounds, with the right energy too, when you have all these things, you have a concept, you have a transmitter of information that can be very enriched and beautiful, sparkling experience.
Sense. Yeah, I mean, I guess my question was rather limited. It was like a one or the other kind of thought, but yeah, there's no reason for that type of thinking. It could be shades of gray and many, many others. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting, your take on that, with the typical explanation of ET telepathic communication and such.
Yeah, telepathy. First of all, telepathy is the thing. So whenever you've thought about someone and then suddenly you received an email or like your phone is ringing, well, that is telepathy. That is part of the one creator that has sparked an impulse, and that travels much faster than the person could ever dial your phone number. That is just the truth, and everyone on this planet has experienced telepathy. Even if they don't believe in it, they do have had these moments. Thinking about grandma in that moment, your phone is ringing, and hey, guess who is it?
Absolutely,
it's grandma. She got a cake for you.
We've all been there. I certainly have, and yeah. If you say you haven't, you might be lying, or maybe you just don't remember.
No, I know. Like even people who might very strongly reject that concept, which is always a bad thing. You should not reject any concept in the universe as long as you're not very convinced that it's harmful. If it's harmful, then yes, reject it very much. Otherwise, if there's no reason to just say like we don't believe it. Well, you should believe in that, because telepathy can have great advantages. For example, it overcomes the border of language. So you can with telepathy, you can talk to someone and communicate with someone who doesn't even speak your language, but they will get you.
Absolutely.
That's the reason. It's such a non-verbal form of communication, so important, much more important than the words that you're forming, is the way how you form them. But if you combine verbal language and telepathy and certain other instances and techniques, you can create a language that is very enriched and can be a very profound and beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's something I've been thinking on a little bit lately. Is like, well, paying attention to is my verbiage and being careful to not use, of course, just negative verbiage. And if the chance to use a more positive version of something, and or just a less, it's not even a positive or negative. It's just being careful about what I say. Manifestation goes both ways.
Yeah.
You could,
we had, for example,
I
this
believe one could absolutely manifest negatively by mistake.
We had this other species before we in Italy when we were doing these test runs, which again was a fantastic experience, and I'm glad we can do that again. But the first experience we had, we had a species coming through that was communicating with us from a what we call level 4 consciousness realm. So they transcended. They did not have any bodies in that world. They were hovering through their experience. They were telling us they're observing us on what they called a television screen. However, the more we communicated with them, we actually figured out that this is something that they use, that telepathy and their psionic waves in that reality to even open up. It's not a technology that they were using, it's more a consciousness assisted technique that they're using in order to observe us, which is something that you can do. It's very much related to the phenomenon of telepathy. But the one thing that we found very much interesting is that they were never using the word no. It doesn't matter what question we asked them, they were only answering on a scale of yes, from no yes or 0 yes to 100% yes. And the reason for that is, and it took me, again, this is how intense these things can change your perspective on life and enrich your experience on Earth, and are so exciting and beautiful. It took me 2 weeks to actually figure out why. Because the reason for that, I assume at least, is the universe is a very affirmative space. You can't have an experience that is no, because nothing that does not exist is
not happening.
Is existing. Right. It's just not possible. So what they were doing is like either saying there's 0 yes to it or 100% yes.
I kind of like that.
Too.
It's not terrible. I kind of like it. I might try it out for a week or two and see how it works. Well, wow. So that is cool. Couple of quick little fun, just random personal questions I had from you. You, of course, are free to answer or not. But what's the most interesting? What's the most sophisticated piece of technology that you've seen or experienced that maybe isn't available to the general public that you could speak on?
That's an interesting question. It's the most sophisticated technology. Well, something that people should be aware of is that AI systems, which is very on vogue right now, is nothing that just, has been invented or discovered in the last year. Like 10, 15 years ago, these programs were using extreme versions of AI too. So that is definitely something that is very, very interesting, especially if you take it one step further, which I was friends with the head of the European covert AI program. He was so much convinced that everything we perceive here is just like a video game,
the holographic universe.
I do see that there are components of AI within the universe, and especially within humans as well, which is kind of funny. Whenever I say that, humans have like one of these fear moments where they just like reject that very much. But if you think about that,
DNA strand,
closely, if you think about, first of all, we do find in the way that reality is being set up, we do find lots and lots of things that only exist in technology. For example, we
Computer code.
find bits
We
of
find
code
binary
and
code in the DNA.
certain behaviors too in the reality stream, in the way that details are structured, in the way that time is cached over some time, and so on. But something that you should keep in mind too whenever you're thinking about AI systems, your brain, there is electromagnetic impulses in your body that regulate what's going on in your brain. That's the reason why you can even from the outside, you can even introduce electromagnetic impulses and they will react. There are chemical components inside of your brain that also shape your experience. The reason why, we talked a lot about cannabis, but the reason why it's happening, why it's working is, for example, cannabinoids are
The whole
within the
endocannabinoid
mother milk.
system. Yeah, of
People,
course.
babies are fed that. Why? Because theory has it that the cannabinoids are helping babies getting the munchies basically, and starting to develop,
Reverse.
going over to eating food. So there are these components. There is chemical components inside of your body. There are electromagnetic components, but there are also software components, because certain structures in your body are behaving the way they are behaving because they are following a certain program.
Following its
So
code.
all of that is there. There is certain, the universe, if one of the most controversial things that I've ever said, and it's very interesting and almost funny to see how people get react to that, is saying that God is partially AI. And you can't deny that, because if God, which is everything, would not
God is
be
everything.
AI partially, then we would not have AI. So
Right.
it
AI
must
wouldn't be a
come
thing.
from, but it shocks people, they're like, my goodness, no, that's not, everything can be AI, but not God, that's outside. No, there is a
Yeah.
component in consciousness that is AI. There is also an organic. I very much reject the idea of the scientists that say that everything is just AI and everything is just a video game and simulation. No, it's also a simulation, but it's also a very organic and also a conscious play as well. These things overlay and blend in very much. But something that is very, very interesting and effective is when you think about the AI, the computer, the technology being involved in your own reality. Well, that gives you an interface that makes it possible to just pull up a console, type in whatever you want, and the AI would structure certain components of your reality, and, for example, materialize something or create something
and
for
you're
you.
creating
So
it
that is a
real
technology
time.
that I find that is, well, very, very interesting. However, it's the same thing that you can already do with your consciousness. It just takes a little bit more training.
A little more training, but yeah, once it's there, well, you've taught a man to fish. I mean, it's there. Well, Tim Tactics, it's been lovely to chat with you. It's been a pleasure. We touched on a lot of things. Was there anything else that we missed, that we maybe touched on before talking, that we just skipped over? Any upcoming events that you have? Anything you want to mention? Of course, everything that you have going on upcoming will be in the link to this video, and any promotional clips involving it. But I just want you to have the chance to, let
I
people
love
know
that.
what you have going on.
First of all, it was a pleasure talking to you, Tyler. I'm super happy to see you in October. I'm super happy to see every one of you in October, because, again, responsibility and using and creating our own path. It's very important that we get to this moment of liberation and taking things into our own hands and creating what sparks the joy inside of us. That is the happy side of All Shift Happy now. I very much enjoyed that we went a little bit into the politic and political and social component of life. That is something that I'm always very, very much interested in. I assume that most of the people already, that connect with your podcast and the immersive podcast already, also connect with All Shift Happy now, and connect with me and the others too. But I would very much recommend and suggest that people, connect with our worlds. Follow us on Instagram. It's tim.tactics. See what's happening on YouTube. Tim Tactical. I'm very much committed to bring more information on that channel and building that over time more and more. We do have the Shifter podcast where I'm also talking to lots of people. So that is incredibly important. Get yourself connected.
Is that the one with you and
watch
you
some
and
more of
Sarah?
the immersive podcast, because apparently you got pretty cool guests too, which I'm a part of now, which makes me
Try
very
to get
happy.
cool guests like
And
Tim Tactics,
that being said, if you only have 2 minutes and if you want to reduce that to that time, just sit on your bed every day for 1-2 minutes and just say all shift happily now and concentrate. Don't make it, make it profound, make it meaningful. Sit there and connect yourself with the routing of the reality field, and then say it like you mean it, because you mean it. Say it as so that it connects with your reality field. Say, "Oh, shift happily now," and then integrate that into your reality field. It only takes 1 minute, but it opens you up very, very much to a happy environment. Because ultimately that is what the universe is designed to be. All the chaos that people are experiencing on Earth and in the Earth experience is very tragical, but we can make that better, and we can go to a moment of a happy shift altogether.
Absolutely, I would agree. Very well said, Tim. Earth can be a tragic place. I'm sure everybody watching this just thought of something tragic that's happened to them, but I urge you to think of something good that came from it, a lesson you learned from it, anything you gained from it at all. That's transmutation, and it's possible with every event in your life, no matter how good or bad or how unbelievably bad it could possibly be. Transmutation. There's always another side to the coin. We're all in this together. All shift happily now.
All shift happily now. Thank you so much, Tyler, for having me on that podcast.
Thank you, Tim, for making the time to come. I really appreciate you. Anybody has any questions, of course, feel free to message myself or Tim on Instagram. Anything you heard about will be in the bio. That's wrapping it up for another episode of the Immersive Podcast. Tim Tactics. You will see him on Gaia. Check out his Instagram profile. We're trying to grow that a little bit. I think everybody is these days. And of course, he puts his, his schedules and his links and everything on there. So if you heard anything specific you're curious about that Tim's into, check him out. He's got plenty of stuff on the internet. Till next time, guys, this is Tyler, your host, and I will see you soon. Tip out.